This video is a Q&A on my life in China. 8 years ago, I've decided to leave Italy and to go to live in China. At that time, I had so many questions in my head about China, about Chinese people, Chinese food. But of course, in the West, we know nothing about China because in the West, the only thing that we hear about China is its role in international politics when it comes to matters like wars and stuff like that. Now, I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about my real perspective about China because I both studied and worked in China. I mastered the Chinese language. So I'm going to answer some of the common questions that people have asked me in the past. Just to give you a gist of it, I'm going to talk about the cost of living in China, my experience, the cultural shocks that I had when I first arrived, the dating scene. I'm going to reveal whether I've ever had a Chinese boyfriend, what do I think about it, about the safety in China, how does it feel to be a girl walking at night, and how did Chinese people treat me as a foreigner. So I will put all the timestamps here so that if you're more interested in a topic, you can go directly to that. So the first question is, how did my Italian friends and family react to the choice of me going to China? Of course, we had two different people that were very judgmental and people that were very supportive, okay? Because like I come from a very small town in Italy of around 15,000 inhabitants, so you can understand that people here are very close-minded. They don't understand the world outside. They just understand that, oh, we have Italy is amazing. And maybe they understand people who go to Germany and France because in the past many people would go to Switzerland and Germany and this kind of European countries because of course here there is no job. And literally Italian economy is not good, but people have never heard of somebody going to China. So they were like, oh, China is going to be very gross, very dirty. Chinese people are very close. They're not going to entertain you. It's going to be too far away. They were judging my mom so much because my mom knows literally everybody here in this town because she owns a small business. So everybody knows her. And everybody was literally going to her shop telling her like, what the hell are you doing? Why would you send your daughter so far away at the age of 17 years old? Because I forgot to mention that at that time I was only 17. So of course, like, people are very bad and they fortunately haven't influenced my parents' choice to send me there. I mean, it wasn't their choice. It was firstly my choice, and of course they supported me. The second question is, how different is life in China compared to Italy? Well, it's very different. Now I will talk about two aspects. One is studying and one is working, of course. People in Italy are very laid back. We say dolce far niente, which means like we like to do nothing and we enjoy do nothing. So, for example, for school, for studying, we go to school, maybe high school, 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day, and then we come back, we relax, we do our homework, and that's it. In China, it's not like that. In China, I was studying 13 hours a day like Chinese people. So it's pretty much crazy, 13 hours a day. Saturday, Sunday, you have to go to school. You have evening classes. You have classes from 8 a.m. literally to 9:30 p.m. And even Chinese people, they even stay until 11 p.m. in the library. Same for people who work. They're not going to leave their office at 4, at 5, or at 6. No, they're going to leave at midnight, at 11, because they have to show that they're working. And if they don't stay in the office till night, the boss is going to kick them out. Now, another difference between Italy and China is transportation. Because here in Italy, transportation doesn't work. Metros, buses, they're not even there when you need them. Like, on paper, they should be arriving, but they never arrive. While, of course, in China, 24/7, you have a lot of services. You have taxi, you have whatever you want, everything works with your phone, you check everything with your phone, you pay everything with your phone, which is amazing. It's fantastic with WeChat and Alipay. Another thing is that, of course, like shops, they are going to be closed in Italy. They just open from 8 a.m. to 12. Then they stop, they close, and at 4 p.m. again, they reopen. And then they go, they leave at 7 or 8. Instead, in China, everything is open 24/7. So you can actually buy anything you want, even at 3 a.m. Next question. What was the biggest culture shock that I experienced? Well, there are a few, but at the beginning, when I arrived in China, I had a host family. So basically, I was in boarding school from Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, I would go to this Chinese host family to live with them, eat with them, and sleep. Like, not sleep with them, but you understood, I would sleep in their house, right? So it was a family of three. It was the mom, dad, and of course the kid, who was the same age as me. So she was 17 years old at that time. And the first thing that would annoy me was the fact that I wasn't allowed to say thank you. Like, it's very normal for me, being an Italian, that I have to say thank you. If you're giving me something, I have to say 谢谢. But they were like, no, you cannot tell this to me because I'm your friend. And if we're friends, then we have to eliminate all the barriers. You're not going to tell me thank you. I was like, yes, but then I'm going to sound impolite. This for me was a shock because I was like, I feel ungrateful if I don't tell you that I appreciate what you're doing for me. Another word that they use rarely, I mean, it's not rarely, but there is like a pattern for this, okay? They don't always say bye bye when they leave. Like, sometimes they would just leave and you would be like, oh, she actually left. You wouldn't understand. And it's actually strange because us in Italy, if we have to leave, we will be like, okay, I'm leaving, I'm going there, I'm going. And then we would say bye bye, I'll see you soon, I'll see you later, I'll see you tomorrow, whatever. They're like, they just leave. They disappear without saying anything. And I found this very impolite. And then lately, of course, I got used to this as well. And of course, being an Italian, one very important thing is physical touch for me. Because Italians, we kiss in the cheeks when we meet. Let's say we meet a man that we know, then we're going to be like, right? Like 2 kisses on the right and on the left cheek. Instead, in China, of course, you don't have kisses at all. Maybe like between boyfriend and girlfriend, but you're not going to do this in public. Of course, you're going to do this in your room. And let's say mother and daughter, they're not going to kiss each other on the cheeks as well. And this for me was shocking because I always hug my mom. I always kiss my mom. I kiss my grandma. I kiss my cousin because, of course, she's a girl, right? And also about the fact of shaking hands. In Italy, we shake hands a lot. In China, they are putting this now when you are in a workplace or something like this, environment like that. Then, of course, you have to shake hands sometimes. And they're using this lately because they have seen the West shaking hands. So they have started shaking hands. Otherwise, it's like, hello, that's it. Ni hao. They don't do anything else. Of course, they're not going to incline themselves a little bit like Japanese people do. They're just not going to do any movement. Another shock for me was that they are very indirect in every single thing, but there is one thing that they are very direct and that they want to ask and that they want to know, especially those aunties, like those very curious middle-aged women. They want to know about your salary. They want to know about whether you're married or not, whether you have a boyfriend or not. They want to know where you work. They want to know everything about you. And they are going to ask all of those questions, like how much do you earn? That's it. Like, they're not going to go a little bit around it. They're just going to ask straight away. They're very interested, and you will see how many people are going to ask these questions to you. Next question. How safe did I feel living in China? In China, there are cameras everywhere. that see what you are actually doing in the street, in the school, everywhere, in all the common areas there are cameras. There are people that I've heard that they say like, oh, it's very scary, there are cameras, they're looking at you. But to be honest, I feel very safe, and I feel it's very important for them to have all of these cameras because China is a big country with a big population and it has to be controlled. Everything has to be in order. So I feel very safe when it's like this. If I walk at night as a girl, I feel very safe because of course, like I know that nothing is going to happen to me. And I think that level of safety that I have in China is the same level of safety that there is in Dubai, because now I'm living in Dubai, I'm not living in China anymore. In this exact moment, I'm in Italy, okay? I'm at home, but next month I'm going back to Dubai. I work there. Anyways, sometimes you still hear some episodes of, taxi drivers raping a Chinese girl at night and all of this. Sometimes you hear this kind of things. So, of course, you have to be careful, but being an Italian, and having traveled to many European cities, I can tell you that China is much better in terms of safety than many European cities. Next question. How did you deal with the language barrier in your first month? So I'm not going to talk a lot about Chinese because I've done a different video for this. I will leave you here my video on how I learned Chinese in 8 months. But just for you to understand, it was very difficult at the beginning because I knew zero Chinese and zero English. I was 17 years old. I was in high school in Italy. Of course, I had studied English, but of course, I have never practiced spoken English. So I was like a little bit, oh my God, I was trying to pull out from my mouth those words in English to talk with my Chinese professor, but we started learning Chinese right away. So it was very easy for us to, start speaking Chinese by month 3, also because the professors at the beginning, in the first month, they started speaking English. And then after 1 month, they were like, okay, from now on, we're not going to speak English anymore. We're going only to speak Chinese, even if you don't understand anything, even if your Chinese is broken. So, of course, like little by little, the language barrier just faded away. Next question. How did locals treat me as a foreigner? Well, just one sentence answer for this question. I love Chinese people. They made me feel like a superstar. They were like, oh my God, a foreigner, oh my God. They would be like, oh, she's so beautiful. Oh, I want a photo with her. They would take selfie with me. They would take photos of me by like hiding a little bit, and then I would see them and be like, you're taking a photo of me. And this happened because at the beginning I was not in Shanghai. At the beginning I was living in the north of China, very close to Russian borders. So it was very cold. It was like minus 30 degrees. People there have never seen foreigners except for some Russian people that go and study there. So they would be like, oh, are you Russian? And I would be like, no, I'm not Russian, because guys, I'm tall, so people maybe they think that I'm Russian, but it's also because only Russians were there. So they were very amazed by me, by my face. I'm extremely beautiful, apparently, in China. Of course, I don't feel myself extremely beautiful. They appreciate the fact that you speak Chinese. They appreciate the fact that, you can communicate with them because their English is not good at all. Chinese people face a lot of challenges to speak English. So like very few people speak English, especially in these cities that are not like Shanghai and Beijing. Of course, it was still a very big city with 2 million inhabitants, but apparently 2 million inhabitants in China is considered very small. I love Chinese people. They have a very good sense of hospitality. I've got more Chinese friends than Italian friends, and I prefer to stay with Chinese more than Italians because they are very down to earth. They are very caring. They are like, "Are you cold? Are you hungry? Do you need this? Do you need that?" They are going to buy you so many things that I was always like continuously like feeling very bad because they were so nice to me and so pleasant, while people in Italy, they tell you, oh, they are very close. They are not. They just cannot speak your language. They just can't speak English, so they cannot communicate with you. Once you learn Chinese, you will understand that Chinese people are very open and very happy to speak with you. They think that if somebody comes from far away, that they leave their country and they come to China, they have to be super good with you, super nice with you in order to make you feel at home. So this is a very nice concept, and there is Chinese items for this. And also, when I was taking taxi and everything, the taxi driver would start teaching me Chinese at the beginning, of course. Then later on, when I started speaking Chinese fluently, they would just, enjoy their conversation. They would be like, how is it in Italy? I would love to go there. What do you think about China? Wow, your Chinese is so good. So they were very nice and friendly. Next question. What was the cost of living in China? This is something that everybody wants to hear about. They are like, once my follower asked me like, do I need to sell my car in order to go to China and study Chinese? I told him, no, you don't absolutely need to sell your car because it's very cheap. You don't need a lot. So, for example, now that I'm living in Dubai, I'm understanding what does it mean to live in a very expensive city. Still, Dubai is not the most expensive city in the world because we have a lot of European cities that are very expensive. New York is more expensive than Dubai as well as London. So, what about Shanghai? Is it very expensive? Chinese people will tell you that it's very expensive, but it's not, because in Dubai, if you want to rent an apartment for, let's say, 1 month, then you have to pay $2,000. In Shanghai, with $800, $900, you can rent an apartment for 1 month. So you can see the difference, 2,000 with 800. When it comes to eat, so when it comes to food, I would say that both the cities are almost on the same range. So you're going to spend around $300 per month if you want to eat. Now, this depends a little bit on your habits because, for example, if you like to eat outside to fancy restaurants and everything, not fancy, but a little bit of good quality restaurants, then of course you're going to spend 300. If you are also willing on eating street food, this kind of things, then of course you're going to spend nothing because you could eat an entire meal for just $2. So it depends on what you eat, really. And of course, transportation. How much does it cost to take a taxi in Shanghai? I think it's around $1 or $2. Yes, this is how cheap is Shanghai. While in Dubai, if you have to take a taxi, then you're going to spend around $6. You can see the difference. They are both cosmopolitan cities, and they're both like very big cities. Of course, Shanghai has 25 million inhabitants and Dubai has only 3 million, so there is like a very big difference in terms of inhabitants, but then it's almost the same. You can compare them. Next question. What was my food experience? Oh my god, this is another question that everybody asks me because they're like, how was the food? Were you able to eat? Were you eating mouses? Like, were you eating bats? Were you eating worms? And I was like, no, I was not eating anything like that. Because of course Chinese food is, first of all, is very various. Like, China is big, so people in the north eat different things compared to people in the south. And of course I loved eating Chinese food. As of now, I have so many things that if I go to China today, I already know what I want to eat because I have my favorite food like barbecue, dumplings, hot pot, and many more. But when I first arrived, guys, Oh my god, it was a nightmare. I'm telling you why. Because when I first arrived, I was in this host family, as I was telling you before. And when you are in a Chinese host family, of course you have to be like, oh my god, thank you very much, yes, I will eat it. You're not going to be like, oh, this is very disgusting, I'm not going to eat this. Of course you cannot do like that. You have to be respectful, right? So many times I had to eat things that I was like, oh my god, I'm dying. Maybe they were very spicy that I could not eat them. So I had to drink so much water in order to swallow the food. Now, if you ask me, do Chinese people eat dogs? The answer is not all of them eat dogs. Of course, there are a few people who like to eat this kind of meat, but not everybody is like that. So for example, my friend, he had a host family which was a little bit poor. They didn't have much money, and they had this restaurant where they only cooked dogs. Yes. And this poor guy, he was American. He was not living like me, from Monday to Friday in boarding school, so in the dormitory, and then Saturday and Sunday in family. No, he was the whole week in the family, living with them, eating with them. So he stayed in the family, I think, for like 6 months. When he came, it was like a little bit fat. After 6 months that he was in this family, he became very thin. He was like very slim. I was like, what happened to you? Then he told me that it was because he went to he went to this family, sorry. He went to this family and they were only giving him dog meat. Imagine. Next question. This is a little bit spicy, I would say. Have you ever had a Chinese boyfriend? Yes, I had a Chinese boyfriend before. We were classmates. We stayed together around 10 months. And I can tell you guys, this was like last year, so it was not 8 years ago. I can tell you that between us, there were not cultural shocks, there were not cultural differences. We didn't have any problems because of our cultures. And I was shocked about this because I was, thinking that we would have all sorts of problems. But this didn't happen, and I think it didn't happen because I was already used to Chinese people. I arrived to China 8 years ago. I stayed with him last year. So, of course, there were already 7 years of me knowing about the culture, knowing Chinese people, speaking the language, speaking with them. So, I think I got so used to Chinese people that when we got together, we had no problems that was influenced by the culture. So it was very easy for us to hang out. We would love eating any kind of food. Of course, we were not, at that time, we were not in China, we were in Europe. So we would go to Chinese restaurants together. We even have some videos where we teach Chinese here on my channel. So if you want to learn a little bit of Chinese words for beginners, you can check those videos out after you watch this. Wait, don't go for now. But of course, I had to break up with him for some other major reasons. So we're not together anymore. If you ask me, Alessia, would you stay with a Chinese guy again? I would tell you I wouldn't mind. Next question is actually related to the last question, which is, are Chinese guys good to date? Now you will think like, Alessia, you are Italian. You should take an Italian. Italians are romantic. Why would you go for a Chinese? Because to some extent, I think Chinese guys are more committed than Italian guys. So I think this is very important. They think about marriage. They think about this thing, the relationship long term. They really care about creating a family. So they have very traditional values. And let me tell you, I also have very traditional values. So I think for me, it's very good to stay with a Chinese guy. Of course, like next time, I really hope I will find a European guy, but we will see. But again, Chinese people, they are not cheaters. They take care of you. They see what you need. They give you a lot of gift, like a lot. And they're very nice. And I think it's very important for the guy to express commitment even in this aspect. Like you have to give the girl gifts to express that, oh yes, I'm willing to spend money for you. So Chinese guys do this a lot. They give you flowers, they give you gift, they give you everything they can give you. Next question. What do you think about Chinese politics? So as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'm not going to talk about Chinese politics in this video. And the reason why I'm not going to talk about this is because if I want to go back to China, I have to keep myself clear from any misunderstanding with the Chinese government. So I will shut my mouth about this. And of course, like all the other questions that you have, I'm going to answer them in the comments in a very honest way. I'm going to tell you what I truly think about China. But for politics, I cannot tell you anything about it because I've been to China in the past and I want to go there in the future, maybe for working or for studying or for something else, just for maybe for traveling. So I'm not going to open this topic with you. Next question, did I ever feel homesick and how did I handle it? Yes, of course, I felt homesick. I'm always missing my mom and my dad, but what I can tell you is that I never thought about giving up because, of course, if I'm in China, it's because I have a goal or maybe two goals to achieve. So I'm very concentrated on what I'm doing. Of course, I feel my mom. I miss my mom. I miss my dad. But the good thing is that there are phones. We can call each other. We can see each other through a video call. So it's fine. I stay concentrated on what I have to do, and then I know that, you know, for vacation I will be free to come here to hug them, to see them, to eat Italian food, because, you know, feeling homesick, it's not just about the relationships, is about everything, like sleeping in your own bed, eating the food that you were used to eat before, and so many other things. Next question, what is the most beautiful place in China that I've visited? Okay, I would split this answer into two parts because I have two favorite places. Now, if you ask me where would you like to travel just for a vacation, I would tell you Yunnan, which is a region in the south part of China. If you tell me your favorite place to stay, live, work, and study, of course I would say Shanghai, because I don't really like Beijing. Okay. So why do I like Yunnan for traveling? Of course, because there is a lot of nature. It's very beautiful. There is this old town. There are mountains, lakes. There is the sea. It's very peaceful. People there are very simple, and they are still like living in the past. There are so many cute animals. And for real, like if you love nature, then Yunnan is a place that you cannot miss. While, of course, if you are more a city girl or a city boy, then of course you have to go to Shanghai. I wouldn't recommend Beijing because of the weather, first of all. Yes, I don't like Beijing because of the weather, because it's colder. It's in the north part of China, while Shanghai is more in the central part of China. So the weather is not good in Beijing. The city is not as beautiful as Shanghai, and I think that in Shanghai there are more opportunities because Shanghai is the city of the future, while Beijing is still a little bit more ancient. It's more about the story, the political part of the country, while Shanghai is a little bit more the financial center of the country. It's more about the economy of the country. It's about the innovation, the technology of the country. Okay, technology, maybe it's Shenzhen in the south of China. It's also a very cosmopolitan city, but yes. And by the way, I visited 13 cities in China, from the north of China to the south of China. And I remember once taking a flight from the north to the south of China. It took me 7 hours of flight to go from the north to the south of China. 7 hours, guys. In Europe, if I want to go from the most southern part of Europe to the most northern part of Europe, I will probably need like 2 hours. So China is this big. Next question. Will I ever go back to China? Yes, the answer is yes, definitely. 100 times I love China. I live and breathe China. Even if I'm here, I'm still like speaking with my Chinese colleagues and I'm speaking with my Chinese friends. I love them, and China is a part of my life that is never going to fade away. So, yes, I'm going back there. I was there last time for a business trip 7 months ago in Shanghai. And I think I will go back this year. I have to go to my hairstylist again, so it's very important. I have to go. I have to take my mom there because my dad, he has already went to China before. So this time is my mom turns. I want to take her there. I want her to see what my eyes have seen in the past years. She's very curious and she would love to go to China. So I definitely have to go. I would love to go for a master's degree because if you guys don't know, I've already had my bachelor's degree in China, in Shanghai. And of course, I would like to study for a master's degree. The only problem is that if you go for a master's degree in Europe, it's going to be only 1 or 2 years. In China is 3 years, so it's too much. I don't know. I'm not sure about this, but maybe I will go back there to work. Next question. How did I manage to learn Chinese in only 8 months while I was living there? So I've already answered to this question in this video here. I've learned Chinese in 8 months with these incredible methods. So I truly recommend you to go to this video and see it. Bye bye.